Hello everyone, you are on the channel. Who created it and how? Today, we're diving into the fascinating story of an object most of us use every single day without a second thought. The mirror. Have you ever caught your reflection and wondered, who was the very first person to see themselves this way? Who invented the mirror? The answer isn't as simple as one person or one moment in time. It's a journey that spans thousands of years. From murky pools of water to the crystal clear glass we have in our homes today. So, stick around as we reflect on the incredible history of the mirror. Our story begins long before recorded history, with nature's own mirrors. Imagine an early human, perhaps Neanderthal or Homo sapiens, kneeling down for a drink from a calm, still pool of water. They lean in, and for the first time, they see a face staring back. It moves when they move, blinks when they blink. It must have been a mind-bending, almost magical experience. Was it a spirit in the water, another person, or was it them? These natural reflecting pools in lakes, ponds, and even puddles were humanity's first encounter with their own image. This was the most basic form of a mirror, a gift from nature itself. But humans are innovators. We weren't content with just relying on a perfectly still day and a clean source of water to see ourselves. We wanted something more permanent, more portable. The desire to capture and control our reflection led to the creation of the first man-made mirrors. Archaeologists have unearthed some incredible examples dating back as far as 6000 BC in Anatolia, which is modern-day Turkey. What were these ancient mirrors made of? Not glass, but a naturally occurring volcanic glass called obsidian. These early artisans would take pieces of obsidian and polish them meticulously for hours, days, even weeks, until they had a smooth, dark, and somewhat reflective surface. The reflection wasn't perfect, of course. It would have been dark and distorted, more like a shadowy, mysterious version of oneself. But it was a huge leap forward. You could hold it in your hand, carry it with you. For the first time, your reflection was a personal, possessible object. These obsidian mirrors were incredibly valuable, considered luxury items, and were often buried with the wealthy and powerful, signifying their status even in the afterlife. As civilizations blossomed, so did mirror-making technology. Around 4000 to 3000 BC, the ancient Egyptians and Mesopotamians began crafting mirrors from polished metals. The material of choice was often copper or bronze. They would take a flat, round disc of metal and polish it to a brilliant shine. Imagine the skill and effort required. These weren't just functional items. They were works of art. Many had ornate handles carved from ivory, wood, or metal, often shaped like figures of gods, goddesses, or sacred animals. For the Egyptians, mirrors had deep spiritual significance. They were associated with the sun god Ra, due to their shininess and round shape, and also with Hathor, the goddess of love, beauty, and joy. Seeing one's reflection was not just about checking your appearance, it was a connection to the divine. But like obsidian mirrors, these metal mirrors had their drawbacks. They tarnished easily and required constant polishing to maintain their reflectivity. And the reflection, while brighter than obsidian, still wasn't perfectly clear. The quest for a clearer reflection continued across the ancient world. The Greeks and Romans also favored polished bronze mirrors. Wealthy Romans, in particular, were obsessed with their appearance and had mirrors of all sizes, from small handheld ones to larger ones that could show the whole body. They even developed mirrors made from a silver alloy, which gave a much brighter and clearer reflection than bronze. But these were astronomically expensive, reserved for the absolute richest in society. Pliny the Elder, a Roman author, wrote about glass being used with a backing of lead or gold leaf. This is where we start to see the early ancestors of the mirrors we know today. However, the quality of Roman glass wasn't great. It was often greenish and full of bubbles and imperfections, so the reflection was still quite warped. For a truly clear glass mirror, humanity would have to wait a little longer. The major breakthrough in mirror technology didn't happen in Europe, but in the Middle East. Around the 10th or 11th century, Arabic scientists and artisans, particularly in Al-Andalus, or Islamic Spain, were making significant advances. The polymath Ibn Sahal was writing about the laws of refraction, laying the groundwork for optics. And it was here that craftsmen began experimenting with coating clear glass with a thin layer of metal. This was a game changer. But the real revolution in glass mirror production came during the Renaissance, in one of the most famous cities in the world, Venice. Sometime in the early 16th century, on the island of Murano, Venetian glassmakers perfected a technique that would make them the undisputed masters of mirror making for over 150 years. Their secret was a mercury tin amalgam process. They would press a sheet of tin foil onto a piece of flat, high-quality glass and then pour mercury over it. The mercury would amalgamate or bond with the tin, creating a brilliant, highly reflective layer. The results were astounding. For the first time, people could see a near-perfect, undistorted image of themselves. Venetian mirrors were the ultimate status symbol. European royalty and nobility paid fortunes for them. The Hall of Mirrors in the Palace of Versailles is the most famous testament to their desirability. It contains 357 mirrors, an unbelievable display of wealth and power at the time, all made using the Venetian method. Venice guarded its secret fiercely. Glassmakers were forbidden from leaving the island, and anyone who shared the technique faced severe punishment. But secrets, especially profitable ones, are hard to keep. Eventually, the Venetian monopoly was broken. In the 17th century, French spies managed to lure away several Venetian artisans, bringing the coveted mirror-making technique to France. This led to the establishment of the Saint-Gobain Company, which is still a major glass manufacturer today. Competition drove innovation, and slowly, prices began to fall, though mirrors remained a luxury for quite some time. The mercury tin amalgam process, while effective, had a dark side. Mercury is highly toxic, and the process was incredibly dangerous for the workers. Many suffered from mercury poisoning, which caused severe health problems, including tremors, memory loss, and eventually death. The phrase "mad as a hatter" actually comes from the mercury poisoning common among hat makers who used a similar process. Mirror makers faced the same terrible fate. A safer and more efficient method was desperately needed. That breakthrough came in 1835, thanks to a German chemist named Justus von Liebig. He developed a chemical process for silvering glass. It involved depositing a thin layer of metallic silver onto the back of a piece of glass through a chemical reaction. This method, known as the silvering process, was not only much safer because it didn't use toxic mercury, but it was also cheaper and faster. It produced a beautifully clear and durable reflection. This was the invention that truly democratized the mirror. With mass production now possible, mirrors became affordable for the middle class, and eventually, for almost everyone. The mirrors in your bathroom, your car, and your pocket are all direct descendants of Liebig's invention. The basic principle of coating glass with a thin layer of metal remains the standard for most mirrors made today, although modern processes often use aluminum instead of silver, applied in a vacuum. So who made the first mirror? There's no single inventor. It was a gradual evolution, a collaborative effort of humanity over millennia. It started with our ancestors gazing into a pool of water. It was advanced by Anatolian craftsmen polishing volcanic glass, by Egyptian artisans shining copper discs, by Roman engineers experimenting with lead-backed glass, by Venetian masters perfecting the mercury amalgam, and finally, by a German chemist who created the safe, clear, and affordable mirror we use every day. Each step built upon the last, driven by our innate curiosity and our enduring desire to see ourselves. The mirror is more than just a tool for checking our hair. It has shaped our art, our science, our psychology, and our very sense of self. It reflects not just our faces, but our history of ingenuity and innovation. What do you think is the most interesting part of the mirror's history? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching. Who created it, and how? If you enjoyed this journey through time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration. See you in the next video.